All right. Hi everyone. So I'm Esther Amako. I'm Graduate USA Secretary, and we thank you all so much for making it to our webinar series today, especially our panel members. We are so grateful for giving us your study day precious time and the knowledge that you share with us today. So, welcome everyone to today's webinar series on relationships. So, today we are going to discuss how to navigate relationships. So, we have wonderful, brilliant panel members here who are all married, and I mean, some of them are married for a very long time. So it's going to be a wonderful session today. So our audience, thank you so much for your continued support of Dissect USA, and we hope that you are going to learn a lot from today's session. So without much ado, I'll pass the ball to Janet, who is going to be our moderator for today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Esther, for this opportunity. Okay, hi, everyone. So my name is Janet Bafo, and I'm also currently serving as Grassac USA Treasurer. I'm pursuing my master's degree at New Mexico Institute of Mining and Technology in Chemical Engineering. So I will be your moderator for today. And moving forward, I just want us to know that this program is going to be very insightful. Like Esther said, we have great panelists who have a lot of experience in navigating the journey of relationship. And that's our topic for our program today. So let's all enjoy. And in case we have any question, we can post it in the chat box, or we can also raise our hand and you'll be able to ask your question. So without much ado, I would like to introduce our panelists straight away, not in any particular order. So I would go ahead and start with introducing Dr. Abna Owusu. Dr. Abna Owusu is an assistant professor in finance at Feliciano School of Business at Montclair State University. And she holds a PhD in finance and a master's degree in financial engineering and risk analytics from the Lally School of Management at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. And she has a BSc in Natural Science from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Her research focuses on corporate governance and risk management in financial institutions, and she applies textual analysis and machine learning techniques to examine the importance of risk culture and risk assessments for effective risk governance. So Dr. Abna is a member of the American Finance Association, and she's the Financial Management of American Financial Association and the Global Association of Risk Professionals. Thank you so much, Dr. Abna, for joining us today to share with us your ideas on relationship. We are really glad to have you. So moving on, I would like to introduce Professor Benjamin Ofori Amwa. Dr. Benjamin is currently a chair and a professor in the Department of Geography at Western Michigan University, and he was born and raised in Ghana, and he started his professional career as an elementary school teacher. Dr. Ben taught his high school geography and later became an assistant registrar in KNUST. And he is an economic geographer and a regional planner with expertise in economic development, location analysis, urban and regional planning, geographic information systems. His research includes development theory, planning, technological change, and human factor development. In addition, he is interested in capacity building in Africa, so he has his particular reference to higher education and technological change. Dr. Ofori Amwa is happily married with his wife, Agnes Ofori Amwa, for over 40 years. and has 3 children and grandchildren. How privileged we are. Thank you so much, Dr. Professor, and we are glad to have you here. We really appreciate your time. I would go ahead and introduce Ms. Efuajan Sampson, who is a trained coach, a certified coach, and also an assessment facilitator. So she is a woman of faith and a pursuer of purposeful living. She is a wife, mother, daughter, aunt, sister, and a friend. She's a self-appointed COO of the John Sampson household and the consortium of associated family member and friends. She's a trained coach. She is also, like I said, a certified coach, and she's a product of Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology and Indiana University. Thank you so much, Ms. Ipua, for agreeing to be one of our panel members today. We believe that you would also give us insightful talks on relationships, and we are glad to have you here. So our fourth panelist, last but not the least, we have Dr. Hayford Insia. Dr. Hayford Insia is a grants management specialist with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he's contributing to the HUD's Office of Native American Programs. Prior to joining HUD, Dr. Insia was an assistant professor of public administration within the University of Utah's Public Administration and Policy Program. Before his work in University of Utah, he was a lecturer in the Political Science Department at Auburn University, Alabama. He is originally from Kumasi, Ghana, and he possesses extensive knowledge and experience from Ghana, the United Kingdom, and the United States in diverse industries, including education, finance and accounting, public policy, administration, and nonprofit management. He is a devout Christian. He's a husband and a father. Dr. Insia believes that a healthy relationship and marriage are the basis for the family and the fundamental unit of human society. Building healthy relationships, marriage and family life helps to ensure social stability and improve the quality of life for all members of society. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. Hayford Insia. Thank you so much, Dr. Hayford. We are glad to have you. Our last panel member for today is currently a master's in English student at Auburn University. And before pursuing her master's degree in the US, she taught for 8 years at the University of Practice Senior High School in Cape Coast. She has been married for 6 years and is blessed with 2 boys. She's a devoted Christian who believes in building a strong family unit on biblical principles, morals, and values. She goes by the name Miss Mavis Na. Ladies and gentlemen, these are our panelists for today. You are welcome, Miss Mavis. Thank you so much, and we are glad to have you all. Looking at what I briefly read, it seems all our panelists have over 5 years marriage experience, meaning we are so blessed to have you, and we know we are going to learn a lot from you all. So I would kindly let our panelists also have the opportunity to introduce themselves. What I did was something like a brief summary or a highlight. So I would let them also let us know a little about who they are. And I would kindly start with Professor Benjamin Ofori Amua.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me to be part of the panel. Yes, as you heard, I'm Ben of I go by Ben most of the time, or Dr. Ben, because most of my students cannot say my last name, so they call me Dr. Ben. And yeah, I'm right now at Western Michigan University. Before that, I was at University of Wisconsin in Stevens Point. And I've been in the United States since 1990. And I'm a product of Legon and KNUST, and found my way through here, coming through the UK, Canada, and then ended up in the United States. I'm a dad of 3 kids and 3 grandchildren, and I've been married for quite a few years, and so I'm glad to be part of your panel and hear what you have, questions you have, and also hopefully I will be able to answer some of your questions for you. That's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Ben. Miss Ifuajan, you can kindly.
Yeah, hello everyone. It's a privilege to be here, and thank you for the invitation to participate in this. I don't take it for granted. So thank you to the organizers and everybody on the call today. So a little bit more about me than was read. So I have been married to my husband Patrick for 18 years. We have 3 daughters ranging in ages from 10 to 14. I was born and raised in Ghana through university, went to tech, and then I transitioned here to pursue graduate studies. It's been 17 years now. And I mean, Ghana is still home, but home now is also in upstate New York. So it's nice to meet you all. And I'm looking forward to interacting because, I mean, as I was thinking through this, we deal with relationships everywhere we go, at work, at home, at school, wherever. So it's a really important topic that is near and dear to my heart. So I'm looking forward to our time together today.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ipua. So we will move on to Professor Hayford Insia.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I consider this a privilege to be part of this discussion. Well, the little I'll add is, well, I've also been married for 16 years. I've been blessed with 2 beautiful and intelligent daughters. So I'm a man among 3 women in my family. I'm really enjoying that privilege. Right. So it's my prayer that God will give us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to navigate these topics and learn more from it to build our lives. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Hayford. And I believe we will learn a lot from you. So Dr. Abna Owusu, can kindly.
Thank you, Janet. So hi, everyone. I'm Abna. I was born, bred, battered in Ghana. So I did my high school and most of my education back in Ghana. When I was done with my undergraduate studies in KNUST, I moved here and did my master's and PhD, as Janet read. So I'm happily married for 7 years. This is actually going to be our 8th year to my friend. I always say that because I hope no one is married to their enemy. So I've been happily married for 7 years, and we do have a lovely daughter. So I really look forward to this. It's actually a privilege to be part of this panel. I'm actually looking forward to share my thoughts on relationship or my experience in relationship, as well as learn from everyone. I know we have pioneers here, so I'm really looking forward to learning from everyone. So nice to be here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abna. Nice to have you too. So our last panel member for today, Mrs. Mavisna. Can you kindly introduce yourself?
Well, thank you so much for such a privilege, because when I saw the rest of the panel members, I thought, no, I'm just too young to be sharing my experience on relationships and all that. But I believe that with what we have learned from the counselings we have attended in the past, and with the little experience we have in relationships, we are able to share something to those who are willing to learn. So thank you so much for such an opportunity. And a little about myself. I was born and bred in Ghana. And I had my high school and university education at Ghana. Specifically, I'm an old student of the Apam Senior High School and also an alumni of University of Cape Coast. And I had the opportunity to come and do my master's in English here in Auburn University. And most of my research interest has to do with issues of exclusion and patriarchy. And specifically, I'm majoring, like you rightly said, I major in rhetoric and composition. So a little bit of communication in there. I'm married to Kojo, and we have 2 boys who are 5 and 3 respectively. So I think that's a little about myself as a mother, as a graduate student, and managing issues in the home. It doesn't come easy. So I would say we thank God for what He is doing and such an opportunity today too. So I'm grateful.
Thank you so much. Also, such an opportunity for us to have you as one of our panel members. So I believe by now we have our pen and papers ready. We have our notepads ready because we are going to learn a lot. I mean, a lot. Yeah, so just to know, if you just join us, we are having our GrassTag USA Social Webinar Series 2, and we are having our talk, relationship talk, navigating the journey of relationships. We would expound on healthy relationship, trust and commitment, love beyond distance, and the pros and cons in relationship. So if you just join us today, this is what we have for you, and I believe you'll learn a lot. Okay, so like I said earlier on, if you have any question, you can kindly put it in the chat box. And if you also want to raise your hand, you can raise your hand. You'll be called for any question you have, and our panel members are here to answer, so they will answer it as you want. Okay, so moving on to our first question. Like I said, we are talking about relationship, and just to have a general idea, when we talk about relationship, what actually defines a relationship? What defines a relationship, and what could be some of the differences between a healthy and an unhealthy relationship, if we have one? Because I'm thinking some people might not even know if we have a healthy relationship and we have an unhealthy relationship. Generally, every relationship is a relationship. So to our panel members, if anybody have something to say with our first question, when we talk about relationship, what comes to mind?
Well, I think of a relationship as just a connection between 2 people, 2 or more people, right? As I was thinking about it, I was like, well, somebody would say, I have a relationship with food. Is that a relationship? But it's a connection between 2 people, I think, for this context. Any connection, association, I would consider a relationship. So if it's a co-worker, there's a different relationship. It's a family member, it's a different relationship. So that connection between 2 humans, I think, is what I would consider the basic framework for a relationship.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ifwa. A connection between 2 humans. So that's a good one. Please, any other submission?
I think I will add the word mutual connection between 2 people, and relationships can be healthy or unhealthy, even though we consider it as mutual. So that's what relationship is about. Or usually, if we want to emphasize on the healthy part of this mutual relationship, it comes with many words to describe it, like honesty, trust, respect, open communication, sometimes being able to compromise from both partners. These are very, very, very key factors when it comes to relationship. I will focus more on the healthy part because I'm sure that is our mindset. That's what we are looking at. So especially with respect for each other when it comes to this kind of mutual relationship is very, very, very important. It's more like the oil that keeps the engine moving.
Thank you so much, Professor Hayford. Dr. Abena, would you want to add anything?
Yes, so I actually want to add to it that there are different types of relationship. I think as Ifwa mentioned earlier, there could be a student-teacher relationship, there could be family, between friends, between more intimate, between a husband and wife, between, let me put in a different boyfriend, girlfriend. We build relationship as we move through life, as we journey through life, we build so many relationships. And I'm glad Professor Hayford also mentioned that some are healthy, some are unhealthy. So as we move along, we build relationship. And one thing that comes to mind when I think of relationship is the building blocks for relationship. And I always put it as TLC, trust, love, commitment. So these are some building blocks that I think you need in relationship, or to form a relationship and also to see it thrive down the lane. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abena. Mrs. Mavis, anything to add?
So what I would add is the fact that there should be agreement, because you cannot be in a mutual relationship with anyone when you two haven't come into a common agreement. Yes, as you go on, agreement is very key, but there could be issues along the way that you would disagree. But at the end of the day, you compromise to come to an agreement. So I would say a relationship, like they have all said, is a mutual connection between two people who have agreed to come together. So it could be a boy, a girl, family members. Usually, in a way, they come together to agree on issues. So I would say agreement is very key, because you cannot be together when you have not agreed to say, I love you, okay, I have accepted your proposal and all that. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mavis. Dr. Ben?
Yes, I will just add one more thing to all that my fellow panelists have said. And that one more thing is humility. Humility, respect, and other things that brother said is right on. The other thing is that for whether you are going to have a healthy relationship or not, humility is one of the things that we have to keep in mind. And that is, to me, that will be the basis of your commitment and your respect and all those things, because that is actually for those of you who are believers. You can get that example from Philippians chapter 2, 5-9. That's where God was talking about. Paul was talking about relationship. In your relationship, have this mind that is in Christ Jesus. And if you read it, basically what he was saying was God. With God. Humbled himself and came down, and we know the rest of the story.
Thank you so much, Professor Ben. So just takeaways from us, just so we know. So one thing I'm learning is that relationship defines, we have trust, love, and commitment that defines relationship. And without any agreement, there is no relationship. Without any agreement, there is no relationship. And relationship also encompasses humility. So that's good one. Thank you so much for all your wonderful contributions. And so I wanted to ask Professor Abena, as you said, so when we talk about relationship, we have trust, love, and commitment. So what actually defines trust, love, and commitment in relationship? And if you can share with us some examples that you have.
Okay, so when we talk of, or when I talk of trust, so I'm looking at you being able to rely on someone comfortably, confidently, feel safe, knowing the person is going to be there, has your back, somebody you know, you can rely on, like you can basically tell something. So when it comes to trust, I believe we all live in a world, in this society, it's all about trust in a way. So especially if you take a look at, I'm going to give an example from the digital economy. If you look at how we are transacting now as human beings, it's all about trust. You order an Uber ride and you trust the driver is going to pick you up, safely take you to your destination. You know he's not going to harm you during the ride. So you build that trust, even with strangers, even with people you don't know. You basically put your profile online without knowing who is seeing it. You trust it's going to be safe online. So when we talk of trust, we are talking about relying on someone whereby you are comfortable or you're safe, you feel safe. So when it comes to a relationship, when you form a relationship, you are looking at trust. You are looking for that person or someone that you can say, oh, I really know you're going to be there for me. You've got my back. You're going to put me first in a way when it comes to certain situations. So when it comes to trust, sometimes you're looking for also consistency in the trust. So to keep trust moving in a relationship, it has to be consistent. That means the other person or yourself should constantly make it an effort to keep up with what you are doing. Because once you become inconsistent or once you don't go on with how you started, you realize that you break the trust. When it comes to relationship, I think trust is feeling safe. And sometimes you hear people say, I don't trust this person. Like, people are even in relationships and they say, I don't trust my partner. Like, and I wonder how, and I keep on saying we easily trust, but sometimes we think that people said me, I don't trust anybody. Funny enough, we easily trust people. If you take a look at how you are a social being, realize that you trust so many people. So you have to build that trust. When we talk of love, we all know love. Hopefully we all know love. We can define love in so many ways. The Bible defines love to us in so many ways. Love is basically, it's more of a mutual feeling towards someone. Love can be unconditional, as we know in the Bible. Love can be, you can love someone even sometimes without knowing the person. You don't have to know the person or even sometimes even have a relationship or a direct relationship with the person to love the person. But when it comes to relationship, if you say you love someone, it's like you love my dog. It has to be, I wouldn't want to use the term unconditional, but however, it has to go an extra mile. You should be willing to always go there and lose yourself sometimes in a way to be able to love the other person. It goes beyond, let me say, mistakes, like just identifying stuff. And I don't want to elaborate so much because I know most of it will come along the way as we are moving on. When it comes to commitment, this is the conscious effort to keep something going or to build something. So more of looking at, I'm committed, and we form, just like trust and love, we form commitment in so many ways, like in most of our relationships or our daily lives. So you being committed to your books as a graduate student, you saying I'm committed to my studies is one form of commitment. It's the same as saying I'm committed to this relationship. So that means what people wouldn't do for the person you are willing to do. If nobody is calling the person, you are willing to call the person because you are committed. So you making that extra effort, trying to stand out, let the person say, oh, this is my partner. And you should look different from everybody, mainly because you are committed in that situation or in that relationship. So this is what I would want to say. I know down the lane, I'll actually chip in more, but this is how I would actually define my TLC in a relationship. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Abuna. That's really insightful. To me, it's not little at all. That's a lot of information. Yeah, thank you so much. So I wanted to move on to our next panelist, but I wanted to, there's a question in the chat box. So Blessed posted that sometimes I meet someone and at that distance, it seems I've known the person for a long time. Sometimes I meet someone and at that instance, it seems I've known the person for a long time. We strike a conversation and there is that flow. Why is that so? Yeah, that's an interesting question. Anyone want to take it for us?
Well, let me step in a little bit. So you are your environment. See, whoever you are, your socialization as an individual contributes to who you become. So sometimes you meet other people whose socialization are very, very similar to who you are. And those instances, you can easily click, right? Even temperaments. You can meet people that you can easily flow with them. You are very, very happy. It's like you can really connect easily. That doesn't mean you can be in love with such a person. It doesn't mean you can be in love with such a person. There are some people, they become, because of your socialization, your temperament, certain innate characteristics that you have will really make you happy being with that person. But there is always a limit where you may sometimes remain friends and don't even think of love, right? Love, to the best of my knowledge, and I may be wrong, right? To the best of my knowledge, is built on something. Everybody loves someone for a reason. Everybody loves someone for a reason. Even before you get married, you met the person, you fell in love with that particular individual for a particular reason, and you build it up. Someone saw someone, another woman, probably backside, front side, and other side issues, really liked the person and thought it was love, get to know the person more, probably one day get married and realize that there are certain kind of characteristics of qualities that are totally missing. So it is true, you may meet people that it looks as if you've known them from the days of Intim Jakari. It doesn't mean you can really be in love with such a person. You may be deceiving yourself. You really have to build friendship out of this. And don't think that you can love such a person. You build friendship, get to know the person more, and even ask yourself, if you want to be in love, are you being in love just for hit and run? Or are you trying to be in love for a long-term relationship, marriage, a future partner? Think about all these things and look at the quality, who you are, and qualities that will complement who you are before you begin to consider falling in love completely or being in a relationship with someone. Don't use that butterfly in your stomach thing because you've met someone and you are really flowing together to think that you can be in love with that particular person. Many relationships have been on rocks based on this kind of approach.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Hayford. Please, do any of our panelists have any other submission to add up to what Dr. Hayford said? Okay. If not, then I think I'm seeing another question in our chat box. So Jonathan is asking, is love a feeling or is having feelings for someone love? Love a feeling or is having feelings for someone love? And his next question, let me just add that. So his next question is that, is there a limit to how much we have to compromise in a relationship? Yeah, I think that one is I would like to know that personally, yeah. If there is a limit to how much we have to compromise in a relationship. Professor Ben, can you kindly help us with our question, our first question? Is love a feeling or is having feelings for someone love?
That's a complex question to start with, but yeah, love is a feeling, and it's not something that we can describe clearly because it varies from person to person, and but the fundamental thing is that yes, if you love somebody, you definitely have a feeling for that person. As to the second part of the question, where there's a limit what to compromising. Well, there's a limit to everything. Okay, there's a limit for everything. And sometimes depends on the situation. If you look at the way that love is defined, yeah, love takes everything and all those things. But there is also, as we started talking earlier on about the respect and the commitment and all the other things, and relationship, as we've already defined, is a connection between two people. It's a two-way thing, two-way affair. And when it becomes only one way, only one person, that it takes it seriously, shows more commitment, and that relationship is not going to survive. And when that mutual understanding and cooperation is not forthcoming, there's going to be a point where something is going to break, that is going to happen, and that relationship will actually collapse. So I think sometimes the question, I can sense that the reason for the question is that where we have a relationship which becomes so one-sided that one person keeps giving. Is there a point where that person can say that I'm not able to, or this is not going to work? And I will say that there's a point that comes, and if it becomes just one way, one-sided, and you are not going to have a successful or a healthy relationship. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ben. That was a good answer. So I think we have other questions, but I want to move on to our next question, and we will address this as we go along. So with our next question, we wanted to find out, how can one balance relationship with school or work? Either family relationship, normal relationship as in boy-girl relationship, and all other kinds of relationship. How can one balance relationship with school or work? So any of our panelists can pick any kind or any type of relationship and expound more about that.
Yeah, I will take a first shot of that, and I will do that because probably unlike most of you, I'm one of those people who went through graduate school with a family. I was married. My generation were the people who have, you finish your first degree, and those days, you didn't think more about, oh, I want to get this and this before I get married. Once I finished my first degree, I actually got married. And most of my generation, we were in graduate school. I remember when we were in Canada, British Columbia. There were more than 40 of us, and we were all from different African countries, and all of us had families, and we were pursuing our PhDs. So, yeah. It's not like today you wait and wait, you want to get all that, but that's the generation has changed, okay? And it's not an easy thing, but again, it comes back to what we started talking about the commitment. And I know for me, I was in my PhD program. I was married. I had 3 kids, twin boys and a daughter, and I was in grad school. And my wife was with me. And so it was really, looking back, it was a sacrifice on the part of my wife, because I had to spend a lot of time, with my studies and all that. So it's a difficult balancing, but it comes again with understanding, the two of you who are in the relationship, understanding that this is an important priority. And so the other one, so I got all the support that I needed from my wife. And because of that also, I was also, commit I had a role. My role was to be committed to my studies and finish. And her role was to provide, the necessary support. It wasn't easy, but we made it through. So it's possible. Yeah, once it all based on understanding, agreeing with whoever that is you have the relationship. These days, I know that sometimes you have it doesn't have time for me, and this and that. Those are issues that come up all the time. I hear it. That he's always, but there's going to be in all kind of relationship. There's going to be a point where one of you has to sacrifice for the good of the of that type of relationship with the future. And so it's possible, but it's what I'll say is that it's doable. Okay, it's challenging, but it's doable, and it's all based on effective communication, communicating with your person that you have a relationship with, and agreeing and getting an understanding that this is what is going to be for the good of the two of you, and if you have kids or something like that. Yeah.
You did so well, Dr. Ben. I mean, school alone, most of us, we claim school alone is stressing us. So combining relationship and marriage at school, indeed, it was commitment, trust, and work. And I like the fact that you said it's doable. I think mostly we always think we can't combine it. So maybe let me finish my school, let me do this, let me get this done. But it's doable, so we can do it so far as we are determined and so far as we commit. Thank you so much. Ms. Epua, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'd like to add that, I mean, life is going to be a constantly juggling act. There will never be a time when you're not balancing something. So at any point in time, it comes down to what are my priorities? And with that understanding, something will have to give. Okay, when I think of myself as a career woman, in the days when my kids are in daycare, I am really not out there pursuing career advancement, because I want that job that I know how to do very well, that allows me to go to the daycare when I get called in the middle of the day. So at that season, the choice I'm making is that I am going to focus on raising my young kids at the expense of pursuing career advancement. At that same season, I would have colleagues at work who are climbing the ladder, getting promotions, which is fine, because I'm constantly going to have to balance. So I think that as a student, you decide what's important to you. If you're in a relationship and the person is telling you that I'm so busy with my PhD program, so I couldn't call you, I would ask the question, like, are you really committed to it, right? Because you have that, everybody has that friend that you're going to be talking to even whilst you are driving or in the grocery store, and still connect, right? So I'm going to make the time to connect because I think this is important to me. And that decision of what's important to me is one that we will have to make every time. Trust me, you will finish school, you will have that busy job, there will still not be any time. So when will be that perfect time to say that, oh, now I have a good balance? So it comes down to what's important to you and why are you committed? Like, what is your why? I'm committed to this relationship because XYZ. With a strong why, you can make anything happen, even if it's just that whole 30 seconds, or I'm sending a message to say, hey, I'm thinking about you, just checking on you. That tells the other person that I'm making you a priority. I might not have 30 minutes for a full-blown conversation, but I'm checking in. So balance, I think, I mean, I don't think there's any balance. At any point, something is taking priority and something will give.
Thank you so much. With a strong why, we can make everything happen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'll move on to, yeah, well, I was coming to you.
I'd like to add something small to what the rest of the panelists have said. And I know most of us on the line are students, and some of you may be probably planning to settle down and then probably continue with another degree. So from my little experience, because I'm a graduate student, my spouse is also a PhD student, and we have 2 kids who are under 6. So what I would say is that when any of you find yourself in that situation, your department can help in making some of the arrangements to fit you, especially when you are in the same school. In our case, for instance, they know his schedule for teaching. They know my schedule for teaching. They know my schedule for my lectures. So when they are trying to make time arrangements for us, even with our offices, they positioned our offices in I would say a place where, let's say we have an emergency from the kids' school, we could quickly get into the elevator and then go. So letting the school know I am a family person, they can come in to make all those arrangements to help you. And when it comes to the home, you need to balance your roles. In the case where you are both studying, you're all pursuing a degree, and the role is not balanced, the other party may feel burdened, the other party may not feel burdened. And if care is not taken, there's always this friction, because one has to probably sacrifice in taking care of their children when they are back from school. The other also has to sacrifice in probably doing their groceries and all that. So when all these roles or responsibilities are not balanced, it becomes a problem. And you know, in the US, kids, when they come back from school, they have activities doing and all that. So I would say that if anyone is thinking about taking on that journey, settling down, raising kids here, both of you are in graduate school, you need to sit down, plan, ask yourself, what are our goals? What are our priorities? If we are in the same school, what can the school do for us? Especially when it comes to meeting deadlines. Your professors are also human beings, and they are able to understand your situation. So communication in this part of the relationship is very, very important. So that's a little I can add.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Mavis. Dr. Hayford, you can go ahead.
You know, when I was in graduate school, my wife was full-time working.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, when I decided to go to graduate school, I have to sit her down for us to talk it out, because it was important that we find a way to balance it, so that at the end of the day, the certificate will be on your wall and your relationship is broken. What's the point in that? So we really talk it out. We first took action, sat down, had open and sincere communication, honest conversations as to, is it even relevant that I go to graduate school now? How long is it going to take for me to go to graduate school? And once I knew my wife was okay with it, we have to look at ways that we are going to commit ourselves to this particular journey. And I strongly believe that a happy relationship is impossible, especially when one is a student. It's totally impossible without trust and commitment. It's totally impossible, right? You have to always think ahead, make plans ahead and stick to it. There are certain times you will go off track, but you know that this is the plan. And especially you as a student, you have to make time to do the things that makes your partner happy. Do things with her. Remember the things that are very, very important to your partner. These are key factors that you should always have on paper, right? Sometimes, I remember when I was writing my PhD dissertation, sometimes I'll just be writing, then suddenly your case and your wife will come to mind. I will just, even if I will lose the idea, let the idea go. I'll just stop. And if it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I'll call them, talk to them. And there were instances when I called, you could see that she was down. So it was more like I was a prophet. I knew something was going on. You bring something jovial, she's happy. Sometimes you may want to even talk for 15 minutes before you realize you talk for an hour. Is it worth it? Yes. After, whatever it is, you will finish the PhD. There's no need to put stress on yourself and try to finish within a particular period of time and bring your relationship to an unhealthy situation. So it's always very, very important. So long as your partner knows exactly what you are doing, she knows your schedule. My wife knows when I'm in class. She knows when I'm at work. Even when I'm in class or at work, and sometimes I get any something that is emergent. For instance, if we agree, if it's an emergency, call me, cut it, call me, cut it, call me, cut it 3 times. Whatever I'm doing, I will stop because I know it's an emergency. If it just comes once and the call ends and it doesn't come again, I know probably she was just checking on me. So I just forget about it and wait till after class, then I will call. So it demands planning. When you want to balance relationship with academics, you should become more like a soldier. You'll be on a routine. Sometimes you go off it, but especially sometimes weekends, you may have to stop everything, take the kids out, take your wife out, sometimes even give the kids to someone else so that you can have just the two of you, your time together, a little time. You may not have it so much as you may want because you are a student. You are aiming at something, but it is very, very important that you consider all these. But someone may ask, what about if we are not married? Because I know sometimes a number of the students are not married. It is still the same. You must know what your partner, what makes her happy, what the person is doing, their schedule, how you'll be able to balance the whole situation together. You cannot be selfish because you think you're a student, or you cannot be selfish because you think maybe you are working and your partner, even when it comes to finances, how you manage finances in balancing the relationship. When I was a student, many of a greater percentage of our finances was coming from my wife. Would she be happy about that? Well, now I'm a student. She's working. So what can we do? But because she knows I'm committed to her, when I'm done with school, or even when I wasn't a student, when I had enough money, I paid my dues. So she knows very well that once I'm done with school, I also pay my dues. So when it comes to balancing, it is not just about the time. Finances is part of it. Balancing your ability to communicate, share duties. Because of my graduate school, I've come to a point where even up to now, when I eat and my kids wants to wash it, I don't want them, I do it myself. Oh, daddy, no, I do it myself. If I'm in a hurry and I can't do it and I put it there, I'll tell them, if you don't have time to do, don't do it. When I come, I'll do it myself. And it's been helping. So balancing relationship whilst you're a student is possible. Sometimes people will scare you because of their inability to plan very well and balance their relationship and try to scare you out of it. It is possible. It is doable, as Auntie Fua said, if I should call her Auntie Fua. As Auntie Fua said, it is doable. You can do it. It's just a matter of planning properly, the two of you sitting down and having a schedule, talking it out sincerely and honestly, and moving forward with it. So that's my 2 cents.
Your 2 cents was really great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Hayford. So I wanted us to move to our next question, which talks about long distance relationship, but I want to quickly read 2 questions in the chat box. I think one, I would specifically want one of our panel members to tackle that question because I think it was the question bred out as a result of what he said. So this question is directed to Dr. Ben. So Leonard is asking, what is a feeling? What is a feeling? If you can help us.
What is a feeling? I would say that the feeling involves a couple of things. One is attraction, when you are attracted, to somebody. And the attraction can be at different levels. It's not, there should be, of course, the physical attraction, because that is our our senses, I mean, that the first thing, the appearance of the person, and then as you get to know the person, you really know what is inside the person. And yeah, so feeling is some attraction. Some people will say chemistry, something like you know, that you feel comfort. You are when the person is around you or you are around the person, you have this type of personal experience that you don't usually have with other when you are with other people. So it's and sometimes some of these can just be a person, you know. You hear people talk of infatuation, which is maybe just in a person, but if it's really some long-term attraction, that type of feeling will continue. You know, you know, as I said, it's not, there's no template, because we are all we are different. You know, we are different, and we have different experiences as we meet people. You know, but sometimes some of those are just passing. It's a passing phase that will just disappear. But there's sometimes also we try to fight against it, because maybe what we are seeing is not up to the standards we have set to ourselves. And we may try to fight it and fight it. And but if it's real, it will continue. So that's what I would say. If anybody has anything to add to that, yeah, it's a strong attraction that you feel towards somebody, and that causes you to always think about the person. You want to be around the person. You want to do something with that person, and it has to stand the test of time. That's the other thing. No, is it something that just comes in a short time and then goes away, or something like that?
Thank you so much, Dr. Ben. I believe Blessed is sorted and he's so I'll kindly direct my next question to Mrs. Ifua. So Ellis is asking, are love and respect related? Are love and respect related? And the next question to that is it possible to love someone but not respect the person?
Yes, I would say absolutely. I mean, love and respect are related. I am not sure how you would love somebody and disrespect the person. I am struggling to see any situation where that is possible. And also, I mean, love is really a choice that you're going to make, right? So I am choosing to love this person despite their faults, despite their shortcomings. So there are days when I'm looking at this person and look, you really annoy me, right? But in that moment, I still have to make the choice. Am I going to demonstrate love or not? In that moment, am I going to still speak to you in a respectful way or not? And maybe sometimes the solution is that I will walk away and not speak at that moment. But to say I love you, but then I'm going to be disrespectful to you, I cannot reconcile the two under any circumstance.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mrs. Ifua. So I want to move on to our next question. There are lots of questions in the chat, but I want us to address our fourth question. So our question is, and basically when we talk about long distance relationship, what at all it is and what defines a long distance relationship? Anyone?
So, Janice, let me define long distance relationship as to how I understand it. So a long distance relationship will be not being connected physically or being separated geographically. So having some distance between two people who are in a relationship. So that's how I define long distance relationship. So to chime in, I actually have been married for roughly like getting to 8 years. Most of my married life, I was actually doing my PhD. So 5 years, I was in grad school doing my PhD. And I did have some long distance relationship during that period. So my husband was back home, back in Ghana, doing like working full time, and I was here. So I feel like sometimes I have I can share some experience when it comes to long distance relationship. One thing I would say about long distance relationship after defining it is, in my opinion, I don't think it's for everybody. I don't think everyone can be in a long distance relationship. And I also don't think it's you ideally, or let me put it, I don't think it's healthy to choose and say, I'm choosing to be in a long distance relationship. Long distance relationship comes about sometimes because of the circumstance that you find yourself in. It's something I would say sometimes you shouldn't present or put yourself in a long distance relationship because it's a very challenging one and it's a very demanding one as well. So I think it's not healthy. I get people ask me several times, like, how are you doing it? Or how did you do it? Or do you think I should be in a long distance relationship? I personally don't think you should choose. If you're not presented with a long distance relationship, or if you can avoid it, you should avoid it. Because if we listen to the definition of relationship, we said it's a connection between two or more people. So you should have some form of, aside from connection, it should you should have some physical like connection as well. And all that goes on to build a relationship. So I think it's unhealthy to choose to be in a long distance relationship. And when I mean to choose, I mean purposely saying, stay here, let's be in a relationship. I think and I also think long distance relationship is a short-term relationship. It has to come to an end at a point. It can't go on forever. So a long distance relationship is more short-term. You should, and before you enter into a long distance relationship, and I'll chime on Dr. Hayford when he said communication is key. He was talking about communication before he started his graduate studies. When you start a long distance relationship, first you need to define what is this long distance relationship going to mean to us? How are we going to handle this long distance relationship? So there should be that communication part, and you should understand, like you should all be on board, because we all know relationships are tough. Then you are throwing in a distance. So I'll just sum it up as it's when you are physically or geographically being far from each other. And also it's short term. It has to be short term. It should be for a moment. And also this is something I don't think it's for everyone. So you shouldn't choose. It's unhealthy to choose to be in a long distance relationship. I'll put it that way. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I think you've answered a follow-up question to that. So yeah, thank you so much.
Sorry, we can always add more to it, sorry.
I'll add something to it because I've been in a long distance relationship for almost 10 years. So it's like Abna said, if you can avoid it, be in a hurry to run away from it. Be in a hurry because it's very, very expensive. Yeah. Very, very, very. Now, because of long distance relationship, I had to let many good job offers go, especially to stay in academia. Even though I loved academia, Dr. Benjamin, I really loved academia, right? Because with academia, sometimes spring break, I'm on the plane. Christmas, I'm on the plane. Summer, I don't take any summer class. I'm on the plane. I'm gone. So you may not even have any savings if you are not careful. Mm-hmm. It's very, 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 very expensive. And it takes a lot of commitment and trust. Especially if your relationship wasn't built on trust, then don't even think of long distance relationship. Because even when you are with the person physically, you don't trust the person. Then how much more you are geographically separated and there's that lack of face-to-face contact. So it is something that you should know. Well, I'm here to hear anybody give me the pros of long distance relationship. You can only have cons of long distance relationship, right? It is very, 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 very time intensive, mentally draining. and for me, what has really sustained me is my faith in God.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. That is what has sustained me, is my faith in God. And I've developed that kind of a tough skin where even if I have to buy a ticket with the last money in my account, I don't care, because I know I'm going to see my beautiful wife and my kids. Right. So it is not for everyone. It's I would say it is like being part of the Marine. It's for the few. It's for the few. So if it's possible and it will be in a very short term, like Abner said, go ahead with it. But if it will be a long term, then you must make up your mind that this is what you are going to face and you are committed to it. Other than that, especially sometimes I've told a number of students, if you are studying in the US, you are in a relationship in Ghana, you are not even sure of yourself, whether you really love the person, sometimes walk away and move on with your life. Yeah, walk away and move on with your life. And don't stay in that kind of superficial kind of ladder. I'm in a relationship, the person is in Nigeria, the person is in Fernando Po, and I'm in the US, and blah, blah, blah. You are joking. You are joking. If you really don't know, so long as you are not married, and if you really don't know what you're about, walk away with it, so that at the back of the mind of the person, they know that I'm free. If I meet somebody within my geographic area, a face-to-face contact, and I want to move forward the person, I'll move forward. If you're also going to focus on that kind of affection, that kind of love, and I'll use that word again, with that kind of butterfly in your stomach, the butterflies will die quickly. They will die quickly, and you even know how it died. They all got dead. So long distance relationship, you can avoid it. And I'm saying this especially for when it comes to students. If you are in a relationship and you are here and you are not married and you don't really see the end of the relationship, you don't really know exactly what you are, walk away. If by the time you are done with school, the person is still there and you want to go back, that is your own cup of tea. Yeah, it is difficult. It's something you shouldn't be so excited about, and you probably want to entertain it. You may die before your PhD is complete. It's very important. All right.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hayford. Thank you so much. So I wanted to ask, although long distance relationship is not for everyone, let me say, unfortunately, some people find themselves in long distance relationship. So I want to find out, how can long distance relationship grow? How can it thrive?
I think I'll say something about this. It can thrive on love, trust, commitment. And if these three things are absent, I don't think any long distance relationship can work. So when it comes to trust, you are open about where you are open about the people you are with, you are open about what you are doing. And unfortunately, in our era where there are a lot of social media apps going on, it makes it very difficult to trust anyone you are in a long distance relationship with, because you do not know what they are doing on there. They could go about doing a whole lot of things and then delete it later, and they can lie about where they are. And you'll be wondering, is the person really sure of where he or she is? So your mind is always not at peace. But when both of you are committed, you trust one another. You know that, okay, we have a purpose for this relationship. You would have to compromise. You have to come together and then let the other party know that you can trust me. I can stay faithful even when we are far apart. And I would also repeat what they said. It's not for everyone. Human beings change. Someone can begin a long distance relationship, staying truthful, staying committed, loving you, and then at a point, because there is not that physical connection, communication becomes a problem. They gradually drift away. So I would say it thrives on these three things: trust, love, and commitment. If you are committed to something, you believe you want it to work, so you invest in it. You invest your time, you invest your emotions. If you are not ready to do that, then it's not for you. Like Dr. Insia and the other doctor also said, it's not for everyone. Yeah.
Can I add a few more things? Yeah. So I think I like the way Abna said that about choice, but and I like what Dr. Insian also said, and maybe it's also he said just now. I will add that it depends on your situation, and especially if you are married, because there are going to be times that due to circumstances, you may end up with long distance relationship. You may be separated, from your family or your spouse, or yeah. I left my spouse and my twin boys in Ghana in 1980s when I left for UK because my wife was pregnant, and then they joined me later on, and then when I was moving from UK to Canada, I had to leave them behind because of immigration. And then when I finished my studies in Canada and I got a job in the US, they wouldn't let them in. Again, they were left in. I had to leave them in Canada for about 6 months. So those things are, they are there, and within the context of a marriage relationship, it all comes down to what has been said: commitment, trust, and love. And the other thing is that I think maybe it's even these days we are all fortunate to have cell phones. In the 1980s, you have to write a letter, and it would take 4 weeks to get from UK to Ghana, and another 4 weeks for you to get a reply. 2 months, you don't know what your spouse is doing. There are no telephones. I mean, telephone, if you want to call, collect, or it wasn't possible. These days, we have cell phones. You can text. You can even do this. But so it comes all down to that, the commitment, the trust. So within the context of marriage, not just girlfriend, boyfriend, that one is what has been said. You don't choose it, but it may come because of circumstances, because we are all travelers now. And when that happens, you need those things to keep that relationship. And it's doable. Again, it's doable. It all depends on the mutual understanding of the two of you. Again, communication. Why, if it's, I had to, all the things I said, I had to leave my family behind because for the long term, it was good for the family. And these days we go back to all those times when all the struggles and all that, but, it paid out. So that is the thing that I will add, because it may be necessary for you, and especially careers. It may not even be too far, but you maybe end up in different states because of jobs. You may end up in different states in this country. And so what are you going to do? Maybe for a while you have to come to understand, okay, we have to do this in order that eventually we could live in the same under the same roof. So that's all that I'll add to.
Janice, can I add to what was said? So yes, right now, Dr. Benjamin made me feel a little bit blessed that I had long distance when there was telephones, because that would be very tough. Yeah. So I have to add to the commitment as well as communication parts of things. So when it comes to commitment, I think before you can be committed in a long distance relationship, you have to dream together. So both of you have to agree on why this long distance relationship is coming up in the first place. For my case, it had to do with me wanting to do my PhD in the US. So my husband had to dream with me on this. This was my dream, but he had to support me on this dream. So I think that was, I'm speaking for him, but I think that's how he could be committed with like in this long distance relationship. Because I wanted to move here, and eventually became our dream that we want to start a family here and want to basically migrate to the US. So I think you have to dream together. If you don't, you are not on board with the dream that the other person is, or why you are creating the long distance relationship in the first place, I don't think it's going to work. There's no way you can be committed. There's no way you can trust. There's no way you can love the person. So you realize that there will always be issues that will be springing up. And you might think it's the distance. No, it's not the distance. It's because you don't see the dream, or you are not on board, or you don't, we're not ready to support the other person's dream or vision. So that's for the commitment. And for the communication, I think it's very key in a long distance relationship. Even in any relationship, we tend to worry a lot about what is going on. It's when I was in a long distance relationship that I really understood, let's go and let's God. Like, as I think Dr. Hayford said, prayer. Like you really understand when you pray and they say, let's go and let God handle everything. Because keep in mind, you're not there. Whatever you are thinking is in your thoughts, like you're not there to even see what's going on. So when it comes to communication, I would say always ask, don't assume. If anything is bothering you, don't go to bed still overthinking things or thinking a lot. If you trust the person, ask, where were you? I used to have this, I always ask my husband, like, where are you coming from? Where did you go to and everything? Sometimes he'd be like, why are you always asking me if or like, you're not here, even if I joke. So sometimes jokingly, you actually say, oh, I'm coming from my girlfriend's house. I'll be like, oh, are you sure you ate before you left? It's like sometimes he would tell me things that he's like, if I say it, how would you know? So sometimes you have to trust beyond. And I think if anything is bothering you, try to ask. Like, don't really assume. It's going to eat into your relationship. It's going to really affect you. You realize it will create a mood, and it's going to linger on. So just ask. Ask and get an answer. Sometimes you might not like the answer, but at least make that effort to ask rather than assume and have things disturb you, especially if you're in school, you are studying and you're in a long distance relationship. There are certain things you should learn to take off your desk so you can focus on your studies. So there are certain, you need to communicate, ask and get your answers. If whether it's the answer you wanted, just go ahead and ask so you don't overthink two things. So that's why I wanted to add on to the commitment and communication. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Well, for me, what has really, or what kept me going, I would basically say is trust, trust, and trust. Even though the communication and the commitment is important, but the trust, right? As I sit here, if my wife is somewhere else, I trust and believe that wherever she is, she's doing something positive. And that takes my mind off all the fears and the worries and people's assumptions and people's false communications that I may be receiving. So trust is key. And like Dr. Benjamin said, now we are fortunate. Even though my kids are not with me, but it is like they are with me every day. Every day, I can talk to them 4 times. Every morning, I talk to them before they go to school. So it's like even sometimes your sleeping pattern will get destroyed. You have to wake up in the morning whilst they're about 6 hours difference, 7 hours every morning, call them before they go to school, ask them whether they've done their homework, go through their homework with them. So it is a whole package. It's a whole package. And you'll be able to do this and get fulfillment when you really trust that the other person is doing something positive, right? If you always want to entertain negative thoughts, you may even end up pushing the other partner to do things that they never thought of. So trust is very, very important. And don't sit there and assume negatively for the person when you have no proof of what exactly is going on. It's very, very, very important, right?
Thank you so much, Dr. Hayford. So just a follow-up question. So I wanted to find out, is it important to even set boundaries in long-distance relationship? And if it's important, what's the role of setting it and how can one go about it?
Oh, yes. It's very, very, very important to set boundaries. Now, for the period I've been in long distance relationship, technically, I've lost all my friends. I've intentionally, and I did that intentionally. Friends that were so close, I've intentionally created a gap, right? I don't want anybody to come in between me and my spouse and my children. And I've done that intentionally. And I'm using the word intentionally. I've intentionally decided not to go to certain parties. If you give me an invitation, I will not be there. I've intentionally decided that every church program, even if it's for kids, I'll be there just to get myself occupied. So you must intentionally make up your mind that, or set your mind up that this is and that is what I'm going to do to keep the relationship thriving. Like I said, I've intentionally made up my mind that every 6 a.m., my kids have to see my face. And I've intentionally made up my mind that I will not speak to my kids and my children on voice call. Everything is video. Everything is video. It's intentional. So even if they don't have money, I'll have to quickly send them money, buy credit. I've intentionally bought phone for all my kids. Right? So even if their mother is not there, I can easily talk to them and we can chat and chat and chat and chat. So even to the extent that if you upset them, people will be with them at home, but they will quickly call daddy. Because it is like nothing is missing. It is like you are with them. Yeah. So for long distance relationship to strive, you must intentionally make up your mind that these things I'm going to do with things that will make the relationship strive and things with the potential to destroy the relationship, you move away from it 100%. That is me. Not everybody will be able to do that, but that is what I've done to keep my marriage moving, and I'm really enjoying it. Even though there are certain things you mix, but I'm really enjoying it for the meantime. And it's almost over, so I'm in a celebration mood.
And we have the technology to help us do that.
Oh yeah,
very good. We have the technology, so that's good.
Thank you
And
so much.
sorry, to add to what Dr. Haver said, there are certain relationships you would have to lose, some friendships that you have to lose. Realize that some people are, I seem to say, negative. There are people who would constantly remind you of the fact that you're in a long distance relationship, constantly bring out, we all know it's tough, but constantly bring out the negative side of it to remind you, constantly ask you, so when are you going to end? Like, so aren't you lonely? Aren't you there? You should associate yourself with those who people who in a way understand your situation and are willing to help lessen it for you, rather than those who are always going to be negative and always put thoughts in your mind. What if, do you worry about this? So I think you would have to lose some relationship to be able to focus on your long distance relationship. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abena. So I've seen a lot of questions in the chat box, and I want to read 3 questions that go in. Any panel member want to tackle any of the questions, you can kindly go ahead. So first question, how can one choose a right partner? And when do you think relationship is very necessary? So that's the first question. How can you choose a right partner? And when do you think relationship is very necessary? And the second question, do you choose to love someone or it has to be organically? Do you choose to love someone or it has to be organically? And the last question, is marriage a necessity for life? Is marriage a necessity for life? So, I mean, these are the 3 questions. There are lots, but I want us to tackle these 3 if anyone have something to say about.
Can you repeat the questions again, please?
All right. So the first question says, how can one choose a right partner? And when do you think relationship is very necessary? And the next question, the second question, someone is asking, do you choose to love someone or it has to be organically? And the last question, is marriage a necessity for life? Is marriage a necessity for life?
I would say choosing the right partner is not cast in stone. It's very, very difficult to have one particular way to choose the right partner. Sometimes I may be wrong, but I strongly believe that the right partner can be made, but rather not chosen. You can come together and you build yourself up to become the right partners and really enjoy your relationship. But I think some of the fundamental or the basic parameters will be knowing who you are and finding somebody who will complement who you are. That is very, very basic. Then you will build that relationship based on these characteristics or these parameters. If I know who I am and I know where I'm going, and I find somebody who also complements who I am and where I'm going, and I also complement who she is and where she is going, it is the basic necessity to build the right kind of partnership. But if anybody will be able to give you, I may be wrong though, anybody will be able to give you certain characteristics or certain steps to choose the right partner, then in that case, we wouldn't have the many divorces that we are seeing in our world today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Instia.
Okay, there was a second part of that question that has to do with when is it right to be in a relationship. I would say that it all depends on you. Do you feel ready? Do you feel mature to be in a relationship? Because relationship requires a lot of work. So are you mature emotionally? Are you mature if you really want that relationship to lead into marriage? Are you mature in terms of your psychic? Are you mature in terms of your emotions? So you need to check all those things. And in addition to the first part Dr. Insia answered, know what you want. Can you stand what the other party is coming on board with in terms of the character? If it's something you cannot stand for, let's say, about 5 years going into 10 years in the future, then you need to make a decision of whether you are moving in with that person or you are withdrawing. And one thing I would say I realized when I got to the US is that the blacks or Africans, for instance, our perspective of relationship is different from the white perspective. You realize that before I have mates, and before I hear them say we are engaged, there is nothing like I love you from the onset of the relationship. They are friends. And as the friendship grows, they do all these assessments of whether I really want to spend the rest of my life with this person. Then the proposal comes in, and then the engagement comes in. But for us, we go straight away. Within a few period of friendship, we go ahead to propose. And that is where the work begins. So if you really want to be in a relationship, you need to do a self-assessment and then an assessment of whoever you really want to be in a relationship with. I really don't condone to being in this relationship, moving out, you have your heart broken, emotionally you are disturbed, then you move into another one, you have your heart broken, you are disturbed emotionally. At the end of the day, whoever comes into your life, if the person is that right person for you, you are affected emotionally. So when it comes to even trusting that person based on your past experiences, it becomes very difficult to adjust to the new relationship that is the healthy one you find yourself in. So I would say you need to ask yourself, am I mature psychologically? Am I mature emotionally? Is it that because I feel I am aging, I need to get into a relationship? Or all my friends are in a relationship, so I also have to join them? No. So that's what I would say.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think I'd just like to add a few things. So first of all, I think that marriage is not for everyone. And I like us to consider the fact that marriage should not become a definition of success or a fulfillment life. I know particularly in our culture, it almost seems like, okay, you go to school, you finish school, you get a good job, the next thing is marriage. But I like to say that I know very successful single people who have no desire to get married. And the fact that they are not married does not take away from them living a life of fulfillment. So it's not for everyone. The other thing is, how do you choose? I mean, in addition to what everybody else has said, I think that having a very broad network of friendship that you have developed over the years is a key. I mean, you have a lot of friends, you get to know people's personalities, and even through that network of your friends, you get to know about yourself and the things that you care about. You realize, oh, this friend is always like calling, like, okay, where have you been? Da, 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 da. I mean, that kind of behavior gets me annoyed. Those are things that you can pick up very well from very good friends. I mean, and through that, you refine what it is that is important to you. Because at the end of the day, what might be important to me might not be the same thing for you. But if you don't understand what's important to you, then you could fall for anything. And then later on, you're like, this key thing I actually missed because I was not focused on understanding myself and developing myself through friendship. So I'd say, look, have as many friends as you can, broaden your network, and learn through that. Learn about yourself and be a student of yourself. I mean, it's an ongoing journey. Be a student of yourself. If I don't understand myself, I can't express what I need from my partner. So be a student of yourself, learn through relationships, friendships, and through that, you could get a better understanding of what would work for you. And I mean, again, marriage is not for everybody. I'd rather you're single and happy and fulfilled than to be pressured into, okay, now that I've finished school, the next natural thing after getting a job is marriage. No.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Mrs. Sepua. So there is a quick question I want to find out. So I wanted to know your take on abusive relationships and if a guy or a lady should even tolerate like verbal or any abuse at all in a relationship. And also if there is any advice you would like to give. I mean, I feel a lot of people are in abusive relationships and maybe we can address that. Yeah.
Well, why would anybody want to accept an abusive relationship, right? And I think there are some signs of abusive relationship that a lot of times people might overlook. But anytime that you have people in a committed relationship, when they look back, the signs are clear on the wall. It's very difficult for those abusive relationships to show up just all of a sudden. So pay attention, and there are certain things that might be unhealthy right from the get-go. And it's okay to pause and say, this thing. I mean, for a friend of mine, for example, she was going out with somebody who, when the guy calls her once and doesn't get a hold, also time he called her like 40 times. That is controlling behavior. That should not be accepted, right? 40 times her phone was just ringing. And she and I were talking about it, and I said, this control is not going away anytime soon. And so you need to address it. And if this continues, you have to make a decision. Can I tolerate that? Right? Because again, we are individuals, complete as singles, and marriage is just supposed to complement us. It is not supposed to make somebody controlling of us. No, I don't think that is the intent. So the signs, watch out for the signs. I mean, when the butterflies are in your stomach, sometimes you might not be using your head. But hopefully you have that one trusted person, family or non-family, that you can actually bounce things off and just listen. Okay, this thing I'm experiencing, is it okay? Is it normal? Should I mean, of course, we are not perfect, right? So there are certain things that is just behavioral thing that you can deal with. Those are fine. But something that is consistently bothering you, I think you should just pause, talk it through a trusted resource, and convince yourself that you're okay, but accepting it will just cause problems for you for the rest of your life.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Sipua. Any others?
Yeah.
Just, oh, sorry, Mavis.
It's
So I just
okay.
wanted to say that, if possible, can we talk about some of the signs of unhealthy relationship, just so we all have a fair idea. So if the panel is actually open, if we could talk about some signs of unhealthy relationship.
I think I can touch on some few.
Okay.
Usually when it comes to, there are many signs of this unhealthy relationship, and it is very, very important that you become aware of these signs. It really helps. Lack of trust is one of it. Sometimes not having fun together, or even if you have fun, it should be on their own terms. Many a times, it's even as if they are in competition with you, in competition with each other. Lack of mutual respect, lack of even sometimes giving you your space, lack of boundaries is there. Emotional abuse, certain kind of words, that will be verbal abuse, that will be used, sometimes even physical abuse. Oh, he will change, she will change, he will change, and he's killing you. These are all signs that you should run away from. There are even instances where one partner may have more control over the other and even the relationship. When these things are there, don't go to church and say you are going to pray for the person to change. It won't happen because it's character. Character, you must work on it yourself and change it. It doesn't take prayer to change character. God can only give you grace and show you mercy. But the person's character, the person must change it, him or herself. It's very, very, very important. Yeah, even at times you realize that one partner tries to exert control and power over other physical, sometimes even sexual and emotional. I'm using sexual because there are even instances where people are in a relationship, they are not married, but they still engage in sex. I am a Christian, I wouldn't recommend that, but others are doing it. So we have to be frank about it and talk about it, right? I'm not going to assume as if we are all Christian. They can be Muslims, they can be Hindus, they can be people in other religions, part of this conversation right now. So we need to talk about it. Physical sex, others can be demanded. Others may even put terms and conditions on when to have sex and other things, just to abuse you. They are all part of it. These are signs that when they begin to pop up, wake up, wake up, wake up, and don't think about the future that he or she will change in the future. It will never happen. It will never happen. You may die and leave your PhD certificate in the wardrobe, and nobody can use it. Run away so that you can use the certificate.
Yeah. Okay. To that, I will add a few things too. Yes. So selfishness and criticism. Everything you do is not. I mean, when somebody is so critical at everything that you do, about your person, about everything you do, that is a red flag. And putting you down, comparing you to others. Why can't you be like the other people? And those things are. Do not be in an abusive relationship, because that is not what it's meant for. No matter what your church or the Bible, or no matter how you understand it. So as I said, when somebody humility is very when somebody tries to put himself or herself above your interest, and every time it's me first, me first, me first, that is not going to work. So and to me, I mean, it could go either way, but I'm talking as a man, and I see a lot of African men doing men who beat their wives are really stupid. It doesn't, you don't need to stand up for that. Okay, you don't need to stand up for that. That one is not, yeah, so there are signs. When I've seen people when they are just not yet married, there's so much control that either one of them want to control everything. That means that once you get in, it's going to, as Dr. Nsia said, it's not going to change. It will just become worse and worse.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ben. So I would like to quote quickly what Dr. Nsia said.
I'd like to add one. When the person gaslights you, they manipulate you psychologically and make you question your sanity. You said this and they say it in a different way. They say different things about you to people, and when you are with them, they say things differently. They lie about you, and you are, did I just do this? Did I say this? Because they are saying you did this, you said that. So they begin to make you think about your son. Am I really going crazy? Is this me? So those people are narcissists. And I would say that if you are in a relationship where you don't feel safe, all the time you are being gaslighted, watch out. If it's happening in a relationship, don't think about how many years you have invested in that relationship. Because if it's not stopping there, it's going to carry on when you get married. So watch out for those signs.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Mavis. So watch out and run away, otherwise you die before your PhD. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So there's a question directed straight to Dr. Ben, and I would quickly ask. So someone is asking, what advice do you have for graduate students who are currently single but looking forward to having successful relationship?
What advice? Well, well, if you are looking for relationship, that is great. We've already talked about it's not for everybody, but it's also a good thing if you want to do that. One of the things that I have seen, and that and again, people are different, but what I would say is that, and it's not only for those who are in PhD, but those who, there's a question about how do we choose, how do we know yourself, as it has already been said, and have some just basic minimum things. What I found is that, and this started with my own life, that sometimes we set standards so high for ourselves, and we want Mrs. Perfect or Mr. Perfect. That person doesn't exist. That person doesn't exist. But if you know, as already have been said, if you know yourself, there are certain minimum things that, well, okay, if you are strong in the faith, you don't want to go off the faith, that could be one. And then, yeah, so there are certain things that you can say that this is off chart, but you have to have a good reason for that. And then then the next thing I would say is that be open-minded and open your eyes, and just sometimes we have too many blinders, and sometimes we don't see. In fact, my current wife, when it became apparent that I was going to first, I kicked against it because of certain things that I had. And now sometimes I look back and say, wow, I was so stupid at that time. So sometimes we have so many things, so I want to I mean, I've got a PhD in economics. I want another PhD in economics. I want this, and I want somebody that is the same thing. And sometimes, personally, I think if you want a carbon copy of you, then there's no point because you are not needed. Why do you want to get another carbon copy of you? And relationship, as we said, is based on people, two people that come together and work out and become one. And so don't set yourself too high standards. And I know, especially once our women get PhDs, they become very untouchable for some of our men because they are afraid of them, because all this, and that is cultural. But it doesn't necessarily mean so. So I'm talking to the men in the audience there. So if you have something like that, don't think that, oh, because this woman has got a PhD, so she's unreachable. And the same thing the other way around, because there are so many things that is difficult to prescribe. But what I have found is that if you are a person of faith or you are whatever that you believe in, there's a way to get some help, and also there's a way to know yourself and see what is happening. And don't think that because of that you are not going to get married or there's nobody going to be around. But somebody may be there, but maybe you have to just manage your expectations and see what you really want or what is important to you in a relationship, and and go with that. Because I have a joke that I'm a geographer and I go to school, spend all my time looking at distributions. I don't want to come home and talk about distributions. I want to talk about something else. Okay, I want to free my mind on something else. And so the idea that I want somebody who also has a PhD and we can that was not part of my things. But okay, I will stop there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ben. Thank you so much, Dr. Ben, for this insightful idea. So our next question, I wanted to find out what are some of the pros and cons of being in a relationship, and how can we maintain a healthy relationship? I think we based on our talk, we've given some, let me say, some factors about how you can maintain relationship and all that, and some of the commitments you have to do, some of the boundaries that we have to set. But generally, what are some of the pros and what are some of the cons? And in all that, how can we all maintain a healthy relationship?
I would say relationship will cost you. It's costly. If I don't say that, then I'll be lying. It's costly because what you have is two people that have been raised in different circumstances, under different groups, different cultures, different upbringing. And you decide to come together to live your life together. All the rough edges that you have has to be what? To be plain off. I have this example. I grew, my older brother was a carpenter, and I watched him one day working the woods and all that. And you see how the carpenter has to, if you want to glue two boards together, you have to do what? You have to plane the surfaces, everything to become smooth, because you cannot just put the glue on those rough edges and put them together, but you have to plane it. And after that, you put the glue there and he puts them together, and sometimes you can't even tell that they were two different boards. And that planing, metaphorically, is not going to be easy. Okay, but again, it's doable. So your rough edges are going to be how you grew up and how it's going to be buttoned against somebody else. But the joy in it is that after, when you have gone through all that, as they say, the two of you become one, and you begin to think alike. You begin to complete each other's sentences. And every relationship, will tell you. So from beginning, it's not easy. I can remember some trivial things that I used to be so angry about. And these days I look back and I say, what was all that about? So it's to work. It's going to require you work. It's not that because you find yourself in and then that is the end. That is just the beginning, because you have to start the journey to be one, to work through all the last struggles and other things that will come on your way, the two of you. But it's an exciting experiment. It's a starting project. And if you put your mind to it, the two of you agree, you will you'll read the job that comes with it.
Thank you, Dr. Ben. Dr. Hippo, do you have anything to add?
Well, am I muted? Yeah. I would say that I'm a Christian, so I'll make reference to the Bible. The Bible says that how can two work together unless they agree? It's very, very, very important. So as a PhD student, you can be in a relationship. And for me, one starting point is building friendship. Make friendship. Even if you've seen somebody that you're interested in, don't just focus on that person. Open up and make friends. And usually, when it comes to people that we date, it is either you date your own friend, a friend of your friend, or a friend of one way or the other. You'll be connected somehow by someone. So you should open up and make friends. You can't expect to be in a relationship as a man or a woman when you are always all by yourself. Everything is just books. Everything is assignment. As if the assignment will never end. Open up and make friends. Sometimes engage in certain kind of social activities and observe. I have a policy, something that I always teach my children, that whoever you are, you must bear fruit according to your kind. Right? So sometimes even when you are making more friends, make friends who are within your kind. Are you a Christian? Are you looking for a Christian woman? Are you a Muslim? Are you looking for a Muslim woman? Are you a traditional worship person? Are you looking for that sort of person? All those are very, very, very important, because you may fall in love with somebody with those butterflies growing up and becoming bigger, and you may not think about other factors that are very, very, very important in life, right? It's very, very important. And especially we students being here, if you want to be in a relationship, let us sometimes forget about always thinking about being in a relationship with only people from our own country. It shouldn't always be people from your own country or people from your own tribe. It is about someone who will complement you and you complimenting the person and making your life better. It is very, very important that we take those factors also into consideration.
Thank you so much, Dr. Insia. So soon we are coming to the end of our program. I think our time is almost up. So I would say I realized Miss Ifwa answered most of the questions in the chat box. I think for the ones we were not able to answer, we are sorry, but I hope we can tackle it maybe after our meeting. So I want to kindly ask from our panelists if we have any last words, anything just to add up, any advice, any take home for us, even as we come to the end of the program.
Well, just in closing, I would just like to, just like the topic says, it is a journey. Life is a journey. So as we're going on day after day, let's add to our toolkits, let's add to the learning about ourselves, learning about the people we're interacting with, we're in relationship with, and let's keep at it. Like, it's not going to be a one day and done. You move forward bit by bit, but let's be continuous students, not just of our academic endeavors, but everything else in life. Let's just keep learning. And of course, with the learning comes action that we must take. So keep learning, keep taking action, just bit by bit. Life is a journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Sipua. Dr. Ben?
Okay, yeah, I think what I would say is that again, there's no Mr. Perfect and no Miss Perfect out there. You will never find perfection. We are humans, we are limited, but we all have strengths and weaknesses. So as you look for partners, look at more of the strength side than just the weaknesses. And the rest of it depends on what you believe. It's all faith, because you can never tell, no matter what you how long you date somebody, you are never going to see the true person until you sleep on the bed the same night and get up in the morning and see how ugly that person was, or how beautiful the person is, or when the person is put in an uncomfortable situation, how they behave. Dating can all pretend. So the rest of it is just plunging in by faith, because you can never know the person until you start a serious relationship. And if you are a person of faith, the rest means that you have to just pray and keep your eyes open, and you will meet the right person. And when you meet, you will know. It's not what I can tell you, but it's what you will come to realize.
Thank you, Dr. Ben. Dr. Hayford, last words for us.
Well, I would say I keep telling friends and people who are close to me, this world that we are in, I believe that this world belongs to those who believe in the power of their dream. So if you are dreaming about a relationship, keep dreaming. If you are dreaming about your academics, keep dreaming. But knows that there are uncertainties and there are focusing events that comes our way as we move on in life. If you're in a relationship that has failed, wake up, stand up and dust off everything and move forward and pursue one again. Look for people who compliments you, who you are, make friends with them, open up and make more friends. You never know where you meet somebody who will really compliment you and move on with your life. It is very, very important. And don't just focus on just certain particular individuals. Or sometimes we set certain parameters for ourselves that are way beyond. It is like from planet Mars. It is not on Earth. Let's be real with our expectations when it comes to relationship. And let's also not compare our relationship too much with what is going on in other people's relationship, because sometimes what we see physically may not really be what is going on behind the scene. It is very, very important. And I also say that as somebody of faith, always commit your relationships to God. God is faithful. So he will always bring people who may compliment you your way if you ask him to. It's very important.
Thank you, Dr. Nsia. Dr. Abena, you can go.
Yes, so to wrap this up, I would say enjoy the journey, relax and have fun. Be serious about it, but don't be over serious. Not every relationship will lead into marriage. So just be kind to yourself, relax and know that, and learn from every relationship you enter. The good ones, the bad ones, learn from it. That would help you or guide you to know what you want for yourself for the future. So I would say relax and enjoy the journey. From time to time, be able to sit and reflect on every relationship you have. Be able to sit and reflect and know, how far have I come? Like, how am I moving from here? What can I do to improve? So it's a constant learning. You just don't enter one relationship and think that is it, it's perfect. It's going to lead into marriage. So I think from time to time, be able to reflect on how far you've come and appreciate your relationships too. I think if you appreciate the relationship you find yourself in, you appreciate your partner, you'll be able to build a better relationship moving forward. So all I would say is have fun and enjoy the journey. If it works out, thanks be to God. If it doesn't, learn from it and move on. Thanks.
Thank you. Now to our last panelist, Mrs. Mavis, your last words.
Well, I would say that don't force to make perfect someone who is not ready to be made perfect, because it may cost you. And don't commit yourself to a relationship is not going to help you. I know there are people, like I said, as Africans as we are, once we enter into a relationship, we start to commit ourselves. The ladies begin to wash clothes for the boy, the men. The men also somehow financially, even some of the ladies tend to commit themselves in the relationship financially. Don't be cooking for the person. It's nice when you cook and you invite the person over, but don't assume the role as a wife when you are not married to that person. Because at the end of the day, when you feel heartbroken, you get hurt a lot because you have invested so much into it. So those are my final words.
Thank you, Mrs. Mavis. Like I said, our time is almost up, so I think this is where we bring our talk to an end, unfortunately. Yeah, but I believe we have all been blessed. I want to sincerely thank all our panelists for coming on board. I personally, I can testify, I have really been blessed by this talk today, and we have been enlightened. I have been enlightened. A lot of information I'm still trying to digest them, but I believe that gradually I will also be able to pick them up and use them even as I journey through my relationship. And so thanks to you all. Like I said, we are privileged to have you today, and God richly bless you. So I would kindly hand over to Doreen. Doreen would give us the announcement. So if she is ready, she can kindly go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, our panelists, for a very beautiful session. And we thank the GRASAC organizers and the team for putting this together for us to learn from our daddies and moms and aunties. We hope that by the time the session is over, we would have learned a lot. I mean, yeah, it's over, but then we are taking a lot into our books and even teach our friends who are maybe finding themselves in this situation, or even trying to find ways of making things work for them, or even finding partners. And yes, so announcements are ready. And as GRASAC, as we know, we just a body and community that are involved in so many things, including activities for our members. So on our platforms, you see us circulating a lot of flyers that are announcing events like our GRASAC Week celebration, which is upcoming in June. And with this GRASAC Week celebration, we'll be having panelists who also come and help us, graduate students, and even every other person with how to deal with mental stress as graduate students and several other things. But amongst this, we'll be having our research conference during this week celebration on one of the days. And with this research conference, to make it very exciting, we are seeking abstracts across all disciplines. So whichever topic that you'll be looking up to bring in, if it's already a published paper, fine, because it's safer that way. You would want to review your secrets to the other person who is looking for ideas to making their project. So if it's an ongoing project you don't mind sharing with us, please submit abstracts across all disciplines. We are currently encouraging everyone to do that. And so that's one, our conference, and then we are receiving abstracts. And also we're currently trying to get new batch of executives to carry on the organization. So we solicit for nominations and we already had them. So these guys are being vetted, and hopefully we'll be hearing from the team who are your next set of executives. So let's look forward to that. And also we also do our spotlight of the week. If you're interested, please see any of the executives or even text us any of the admins on the page so you can be spotlighted. Everybody sees your research so that everyone across the world sees what Ghanaians are doing in the United States. They're not just traveling, but we're actually doing some research and fun stuff. So once again, I'd like to thank our panelists for a wonderful session. And I hope everyone has learned. I've learned a lot from here. I see my auntie here, Auntie Fua. So I thank her and every other person for the inputs. And yeah, thank you, Janet, also for moderating this very well. Thank you.
All right, thank you all so much. And this brings us to the end of the session. So you all have a good rest of your day. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.